The power of knowledge, ability to understand laws of nature, and not least, ability to apply these laws to create new things, that's what inspires me in science. I'm Sergei Semyonov, a senior scientist in Weizmann Institute of Science. The fundamental question driving my research is how do we synthesize life? There is actually a huge difference between man-made machines and living things, mostly in the dynamic active nature of the living beings. When engineers build an airplane, they assemble it piece by piece statically on the ground. But life is actually dynamic. It creates itself while constantly moving, like trying to assemble that airplane while it's already flying in the air. We, in our laboratory, try to develop synthetic systems and materials that will have this active nature of the living systems. We focus on creating so-called chemical oscillators. Imagine a pendulum swinging back and forth. We design chemical reactions that do the same thing, repeating periodically instead of just finish. What was actually surprising is that we don't need complex chemistry to do these oscillators. The secret lies not in the ingredients, but in the architecture, in the way they are put together. We create conditions for self-organization. This allows us to engineer chemical controller for smart materials. That tells a certain material when to contract, when to expand, and when to change color. This represents a new level of control. In future, this type of materials can enable design of tiny chemical agents capable of navigating independently through our bodies to treat diseases with precision. Being a Blavatnik Israel Award laureate means high-standing scientists have trust in you and expectation to maintain the highest level of research. This journey is not only about building future technologies. It's also a journey into the past. It's a way to reverse engineer life itself. Finding the convincing, realistic scenario for the origin of life is the biggest goal I can dream now. It's a great honor to receive Blavatnik Award. My journey in chemistry started in an unusual place, our kitchen. When I was about 14, I got access to real chemicals, something far more advanced than meant for teenagers. Thanks to the trust and patience of my parents, I was allowed to experiment. These experiments were not always safe, but they were transformative. They taught me something I believe until today. The chemistry is not only about understanding the world, it's also about creating new parts of it. This was captured beautifully by famous chemist Marcellin Berthelot, who wrote that chemistry creates its object, and this creative faculty distinguishes it from other natural sciences. The love for chemistry drove me through the long journey of study and training, starting from undergraduate degrees in Moscow State University, then to the PhD in Zurich, and postdoctoral studies in Netherlands and Harvard University, and finally to my independent group at Weizmann Institute. And this creative faculty of chemistry brought me to the question that transcends my research for the last 15 years. How do we synthesize life? After all, life is part of matter. It's driven by same physical and chemical laws. So it should be possible to make it eventually. Before we dwell deeper into this question, let's watch a short video. So what you see here is mitosis, process of cell division. And what fascinates me here is not only complexity of structures, but the timing. Thousands of molecular events happen in the right place at the right time in right order, as they would be perfectly orchestrated. And this orchestration of chemical reactions is what I dedicated a big part of my career. The useful way to think about cellular chemistry is that it runs on chemical clocks. The cell cycle that I showed you before is one example. The day-night cycles are tracked by circadian clocks, and the calcium oscillations are essential for signaling. And on a molecular level, these chemical clocks are driven by reactions that reinforce and restrain each other. So here comes the question that motivates work in my lab. If nature used chemical signals and chemical clocks can we build a new chemical clocks by designing molecules that they are made of? And more specifically, can we do so using synthetic organic molecules? The type of molecules that chemists use to build pharmaceuticals, plastics. What is special about these molecules is that we can design them almost like in engineering parts. Optimize one chemical handle, assess how fast they react, and see how overall behavior is changed. Historically, chemical oscillators were usually discovered first and understood later. They were often built by tweaking known recipes. And surprisingly, no oscillators were made purely from synthetic organic molecules. In our lab, we developed new class of oscillators based on tiles. Those are organic molecules where a sulfur atom on one side is bonded to the hydrogen atom and on another side on the carbon-containing fragment. So let me outline the design of oscillator in simple language. The oscillator needs 3 ingredients. The first one is accelerator, something that amplifies signal. The second is a brake, something that shuts signal down. And third is a delay, something that prevents system from turning on again immediately and settling at steady state. In our system, an accelerator is a reaction that produces tiles autocatalytically. Something like microphone too close to the speaker. Once it starts, it grows rapidly. The brake is another reaction which consumes tiles, and delay is provided by an inhibitor, a molecule that we add in small amounts, and it reacts with tiles very rapidly. When the simple roles are balanced correctly, the chemistry doesn't settle. It beats. We see periodic spikes in concentration of tiles reminiscent of the heartbeat. And what is important is that once you have oscillators, you can build Ricci behaviors on top of it. Oscillations are periodic changes in one place. So the next step would be to let reaction happen not only in one place, but in space. The oscillations in space are waves. Instead of happening in one spot, reaction can propagate and generate repeating patterns. So here is the setup that we use to generate waves. We run this chemistry I described before in piece of the hydrogel, something of the consistency of jelly. The molecules can spread there slowly, so the burst initiated in one spot can trigger its neighbors and create a traveling wavefront, which you can see here because of the visualization by a dye. The waves are interesting on their own, but they connect to one of the most beautiful ideas transcending mathematics, chemistry, and biology. More than 70 years ago, famous mathematician Alan Turing demonstrated that interplay between reaction and diffusion can produce stationary patterns, which are essentially standing waves, and that these patterns can be basis for the development of shapes and patterns in biology, such as tiger stripes or butterfly wings. We can optimize the properties of molecules in our system that they can produce these patterns. We start from a homogeneous hydrogel layer, which quickly develops initial pattern that after a transient period of evolution develops into the stationary spotty pattern where yellow regions correspond to high concentration of tiles and blue regions to the low concentration. Let's develop, what is essential about this pattern is that it is intrinsically dynamic. It exists only as long as supply reactants and chemistry is running. So let's generate another pattern and ask a question. Can we fix this dynamic pattern into something permanent? The answer is yes. We can supply a dye which reacts with the hydrogel only in areas where pattern is in specific phase. Moreover, we can fix first dynamic pattern, change conditions, create another dynamic pattern, and fix it, creating a layered structure which you see here. Finally, we also examined whether these chemical signals can control mechanical work. We created a soft polymer material that contains bonds that can be broken by tiles. The scheme on the right outlines the basic idea. We start with starting with a flat piece of hydrogen. The chemical wave creates a reaction front where sulfur bonds are broken to create tiles. This breakage of the sulfur-sulfur bonds creates a local change in material that triggers macroscopic movement. As you can see in this hand experiment on the left, the fingers close as they turn yellow because of arrival of the tile signal. This approach allows us to generate various types of movements, such as relay actuation, screw-like movement. Moreover, by optimizing the chemistry, we can even make this movement reversible. As you can see in this flower experiment, after initially opening, the flower will return to its original shape. So where does it leave the big question? How do we synthesize life? We haven't synthesized life yet, but we developed a toolbox of relatively simple chemistry that allows us to reproduce several hallmarks of life, such as rhythmic activity, communication through waves, self-organized patterns, and movement. For me, this work serves a two-purpose. It demonstrates what chemists can build, and it also shows how complex phenomena emerge from simple organic molecules. The important clue if we think how can life emerge on the early Earth. What excites me in this work is that it shows that we begin to design complex dynamics into chemical systems already in molecular level. Something like in architecture, where we start from simple building blocks and create something far more complex and functional. In this work, we design complex behaviors using simple organic molecules. Looking ahead, this works in hints towards new approach in chemistry, where we not simply synthesize new molecules and materials, but start to design dynamic function into them from the beginning. Let's finish with thanks. I would like to acknowledge my past and present group members who did hard work behind every result. I'm grateful to my collaborators who brought essential ideas and techniques, and to my mentors for guidance and inspiration during critical stages of my career. Let's thank funding agencies that support curiosity-driven research. And let's thank Blavatnik Family Foundation and personally Lev Blavatnik for promoting science through this prestigious award. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Semyonov. We'll take a few questions, if there are any. Yes, please.
Okay, so have you done experiments only in carbon-based chemicals, or have you considered something like silicone? Because I've heard that there are models for life that use silicone instead of carbon.
Okay, the answer is that silicon is definitely not out of the chart of our elements. We actually have silicon as a component of the blue dye that we use to visualize all of that. So the short answer, yes, I mean, for sure, as a part of carbon-based materials, we have silicon. Do we use purely silicon-based compounds? Not in this work. They might be promising as a part of the polymer chemistry that we use, because silicon elastomers are very good as a polymer materials. That would be my answer. So there is definitely room for purely, I would say, silicon oxide type of, I mean, siloxanes type of